This meeting to order at 6:30.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, so we get moving.
Get a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. First order of business is, public comments. Anyone here for public comments? Brad?
So this is just informational only. Conservation Commission has reorganized. So I'm now chair again. David Barker is the treasurer and Greg Stolowski is. And according to our bylaws, and I think statute, it's supposed to be 4-year terms. So we kind of worked that out last night and we'll let you guys know. We want to stagger the appointments so that not everybody has to be reappointed on the same year. So
Okay.
probably after town meeting, we'll do that.
Well, congratulations.
Uh,
I think.
Do you have a full complement?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
and Devin has been coming to our meetings. He's not a member yet.
Yeah.
We have an opening. Supporting. The other thing I wanted to mention was, probably doesn't matter to you guys, but we have a new county forester.
Oh,
So I haven't met him yet. I've emailed him a couple of times. His name is Dan Healy. Dan Healy,
Dan Healy.
And who's he replacing?
replacing AJ Fallon.
Oh,
AJ was so good.
retired?
Where's he
No,
going?
he didn't retire. They moved him to a different.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
He'll still be in touch. I've got him on speed dial.
Good.
And then, changing hats, so to speak, emergency management. I still have not found the traffic cones, traffic bars that I last saw at Old Home Days.
Have you checked with Nando at South Royalton House? Because he had some there at one time.
He does not.
He doesn't have
To the
them?
best of my knowledge, she gave them to, they transitioned to Old Home Days when that
Oh,
event. happened.
Okay.
So I checked with the police chief, the fire chief, Sam, who runs Old Home Days.
Hmm.
I've not checked with the town garage yet,
You look under the gazebo? Look under the gazebo?
under the gazebo.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the green? No.
So I just wanted to mention that
Okay.
because I don't want to buy more, because I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
Oh, quickest way to find them is to buy new ones. They'll turn up.
It's town money.
Well,
Um,
if you need them, you need them.
and the other thing I was gonna mention was that, I'm going on vacation for a couple weeks. Thursday, so Jen Harris, who's the emergency management coordinator, is aware. And the folks that run the shelter, they're aware. That's all.
Anybody else?
Hi.
Identify yourself.
Matt Matul, from Place There Road. I don't know what the subject matter of public comment is, so if this isn't, I just have a question about some of the road, tree work that was done alongside of Broadbrook Road and Placestead Road, and if that's other business, then that's fine, or if it's public comment, I'll mention it now, but you tell me, I'm unfamiliar with the segregation of parts of the.
Public comment's good.
It's good. Yeah.
Fair public comment?
Bring it on.
Okay, and I think my wife Lucia may have sent an email or two sort of about this, but I think in the fall. There's a lot of work done along Broadbrook Road and down Placestead Road. And all that debris was just pushed off the side of the road. And I don't know if I've never seen that happen in the 30 years that I've been living up here. And so I just don't know if that was temporary because we got so many other things that the crews are dealing with, or if that is gonna stay like that, but it's a mess and it looks horrible and it's not just in one location, so I'm just raising it to raise it and we can address it whenever, but it's a genuine inquiry.
Okay, I don't have an answer for you, but, maybe it'll come up.
So who did that tree work? Demi, do you know?
Would that be,
Was that
road crew?
you guys, Demi, or
What's that?
was that,
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah. Well, it's been over 30 years since we've done any.
There you go.
We had no place to get rid of it, so we put it off to the side of the road in the woods there and whatnot, and we was pressed for time to get projects done this fall, so. But,
Yeah. I mean, so I appreciate that and, it just needs to be dealt with, and if that's just the cost of being a landowner adjacent to public road, then.
Do you usually chip the stuff, Demi?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you usually chip the little stuff?
if it's real small, we can, but say we was pressed for time.
Yeah.
Our chipper is really old. And I can't get parts for it anymore, so it's kind of toggled together and. So we don't do a lot of chipping.
Hmm.
All that takes time.
Oh, yeah.
And manpower that we really don't have.
Yeah, so I'll raise this another time or send pictures and evidence of it. I mean, it's right adjacent to our hayfield. It's right, I walk past it every day. It's adjacent to all that new culvert work that also took place, on Broadbrook Road during one of the prior storms where there was a big washout and the road was sort of cordoned off there. And so, I think we need to find some kind of solution other than just waiting for it to decay over the next 30 years. So,
Okay.
Pictures would be
pictures,
great.
I'll take some
Yeah.
photos.
I'll go drive up there and see too.
Yeah, I mean.
And I think we were gonna talk about like sort of some scheduling of things to understand like where I would like to next year after we get through the town plan information that needs to go out. But I would like to look at scheduling sort of what the road crew expects to do throughout the year, like sort of what happens at different times of year, and maybe that in that conversation, we can talk about like that kind of thing. And
Yeah, it'd be good to have an understanding. I mean, I'm gonna probably commission some additional tree work, at least along Placehead Road. Not taking on the burden of Broadbrook Road, but, and in the course of that, it'll make sense just to chip it all up. We're happy to do that, but, it would just, it's just unsightly and it's a mess and it's something that we need to deal with that. I don't think we don't have to deal with, but thank you.
Next.
I guess the next is Slack Hill Road.
That's on the agenda.
Yeah, but that's what he's saying, I think is.
Okay,
Like-
well, I was looking for more public comments. We'll get to that when it'd be the next item, but, just want to make sure we didn't have somebody waiting for something else. So moving right along, we'll go into Slack Hill Road.
Okay. My name is Bill Peterson. My wife, Ellen Frost, and I have owned a house at the very top of Slack Hill Road since the year 2000. When we bought the house, we were told, this is at the end of a class 3 road. And so it proved until about this time last year, and we would wake up at 3 in the morning on a snowy morning and the plow would be going by. last year we arrived and we found that the top 100 or 150 yards of the road had not been plowed. And we talked to the select board, and Tim Murphy and Demi came up in the summer. And I don't think there's any dispute that this is a class 3 road. Later in the summer, the road crew, or in the fall, the road crew came up and did a bang up job of level grading and filling the road for the months when it isn't snowing. And, but of course, what's really important to us is that the road be plowed, both for when we're here and to have emergency access, if there should be a fire or something when we aren't here. When we bought the house, the town made us put in a fire hydrant. That isn't much good without road access. So I'm not sure what the current situation is, since what the town is doing is uncertain to us. We've hired a guy, Chris Nonamaker, who's done a really good job plowing the road, and he says all times but one, the town hasn't plowed the road, but once it did. So it seems to us that you have a legal obligation to plow the road or renounce that obligation by a legal process. And we're here to inquire into that. I mean, we aren't here to make a fight or an issue of it. We certainly deserve to be at the bottom of the priority list, but we think we do deserve to have our road plowed when you get to that bottom.
Let's ask Tammy, what,
Well, I went up with Tim last
Yeah,
fall.
Yes, I remember, yeah.
And we had a discussion and had an agreement that you said if we took and built the road back up or a sledge and everything like that, that you said you'd have somebody plow that section, because we don't have room enough to turn around up there.
I don't recall any such discussion, but you know, recollections differ.
Yeah, but to say it's, the truck did try to come up there this winter and turn around, and he didn't have room enough, he couldn't get turned around, so he had to back all the way down. So there'd have to be, the big tree would have to be taken out. The generator system is actually in the way, but we could get by that, but all them trees would have to be moved above the generator system, because our trucks with the plows on them are 40 foot long. So it takes quite a lot of room to turn them around.
How come the road got plowed up until last year?
Well, it was doing it with the single axle truck.
Is that still operational, that truck?
We don't have that truck anymore. But I got looking, we got checking the orange book with state statutes and whatnot on roads. And it says in there, possibly for qualifying for a class 3 road, there's a minimum of 22 feet shoulder to shoulder. We don't have that anywhere up through there. The road's just about wide enough for the truck itself to fit up by there. And then that garage is actually put late in the way, so that's hard making that swing around, because you got that stone wall right there. And to make that swing around, and then to back, you gotta go 40 feet and get swung around. But he tried it once this winter and he couldn't get turned around, so he ended up having to back all the way down it. But Tim was saying that it wasn't a problem to have somebody plow it. If we do up to that sharp corner. As long as we built the road up, the section up.
Well, my recollection, as I said, it's great that you did the grading and so forth, which is worth having. And then the question of plowing remains to be resolved, but there's no point in In rehashing that, that's bad.
That's what you say, you said, because it wasn't hard if you had somebody come up and plow like that
Mhm.
last year. And,
Mhm.
you said that you'd have somebody plow it. If we fix the road up, cause all it is ledge up by there. And it was real tight, it was hard to grade it with the grader, cause it's so tight.
I'll weigh in. The other thing is, unfortunately, at some point, and it was approved by a previous select board, was a builder placed the garage in at a head of a class 4 road, kind of in the way. But it was kind of like, okay, it was a mistake. We'll live with it, sort of thing. But between that necking down the area to turn around, along with a generator system that Demi mentioned, it's extremely tight. And sometimes we're trying to do this work when it might be middle of the night, midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter. It's really, really tough. It was incredibly tight to try to turn that around. And none of the factors like this big tree Demi mentioned, the generator, the garage being placed in a bad spot have helped the situation. I think Demi did come up and do a bunch of work. That's true. I don't see how we can do this with a big truck. There's just no way.
Well, as to the garage, that was indeed a separate issue with the select board.
Right.
Because, okay, um, and it is, and the select board actually approved the position of the garage where it is, because,
You're right.
because so if there was a mistake in the placing of the garage, as far as road maintenance is concerned, it's not on us. The reason it became an issue was the garage blocks the surveyed part of the class 4 road. And we agreed that if that road is ever revived, we'll give another right of way, which is only fair. But, anyway, here's what's being said. Chris Nonamaker charges $75 a pop to plow the road, which we have to have none. And, because through its own act, really, the town no longer has the equipment to plow the road, that's what we're stuck with.
I don't disagree with what you just said.
Yeah, I think sounds like an issue that we have to like really think about, and not just with your driveway, right? Like, the cost of everything is so expensive right now that I don't know, we have to like consider everything now, and we might have to change the system as it has been possibly, right? I don't know, but like this specific situation, maybe we should talk about some more for sure. I don't know if maybe we can like you said, maybe like come back to this and have and really like thoughtful conversation about it.
One smaller truck would be
Well,
nice.
but I mean, one thing I thought of putting on the table, and I will, is you could kick in to pay for Chris Nonamaker, and I wouldn't suggest that you pay the full freight, but after all, it is a class 3 road, and that would solve it all.
That would solve it for you, yeah.
I think that's I would be very careful about that, because it sets a real precedent that all of a sudden people are hiring their own people to do portions of roads because I'm sure they're all good reasons, but
Well,
becomes
I mean,
unmanageable.
are there other class 3 roads that you aren't plowing?
Well, there's class 4 roads that we aren't plowing.
Well,
Maybe we
we're
should
not.
make it a class 4 road.
You don't have any obligation to.
Yeah.
Right,
for
but
road.
I'm saying it's only your it's your driveway. It's your road, your house is the only house on this road, is that right?
Yeah, but it's still a class 3 road.
It's still
So
faster.
Yes.
we have to
Yeah,
maintain
one
a
of the
class 3 road.
houses.
Yeah.
There's also a thing in statutes and whatnot that the town can take and not winter maintain class 3 roads if they're not adequate.
That's,
for
that's true,
the equipment.
and there's a legal process for that. That's a road, I would just,
Yeah.
quote, a road, the path, I would just as soon not go down, but.
Well, we're gonna have to look into this a little more than
Yes.
time will allow for tonight, I think. Did you have something to add?
Well, I was just gonna ask Debbie, so Debbie, you're saying that the right of way is not, the right of way at the top of the road is not entirely clear?
No, it's real narrow right through there. It's just about wide enough for the truck to go through. They can't have the wing down. The truck just goes through, and it's not a good spot to have to back out of.
And you were doing it just fine, right? Up until like the generator got put in?
No.
Is that what happened?
No, it was
It was
when the
trucks.
single axle truck.
Oh, right,
went
right.
at it.
You go up to the sharp corner, so it's just a short stretch to his hill.
So it's the change in the trucks that made the difference.
So you don't have the equipment of any kind that would do that road, right?
Yeah, we got a truck that could do it, but we don't have the manpower to run that.
How do you do it by Alan Turner and Darlings and,
The truck that goes up to his place does that up there. But there is room enough for it to back around. There is a spot that they can back around.
could we create a back around spot up at Bill's? Can we create a back around spot at Bill's, or is there?
You can, but you're gonna have to cut some trees. You're gonna have to cut that big maple tree, because that's just too narrow. And the road would have to be widened to actually.
There's no, I agree, there's nothing easy that can be done.
Yeah,
A single axle truck.
A single axle truck can do it, and nothing, or Chris Macker would do it.
It's funny, yeah, we pay.
Gio, you can help
'cause
it.
we had the same problem at Niels Delaire and we gave up that road.
Yeah. There weren't no room.
No place to turn around there.
Six wheeler, there weren't no room to turn around up there.
But could we maybe like, have a conversation about this, like, come back to this and brainstorm some solutions, maybe? That would work for you?
We aren't looking. We don't need a decision tonight, although we'd like a favorable decision tonight, but we'll just keep Chris going while you make up your minds.
Well, I think we need to come to an agreement together, yeah.
Okay.
It's not just a matter of us making up our mind. It's-
Okay.
We want to involve you too,
Okay.
but I don't think tonight's the night to do it. But we will,
Did you say you're only around in January and then you go somewhere?
We'll be back in May, but.
Well, for safe reasons, you want it plowed out in case there's a fire.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I didn't mean for that. I meant for meeting up with you again. I, you know,
We could do Zoom maybe.
Oh,
We
yeah.
could do Zoom certainly.
Sticky.
Yeah. But I know that Tim has our email and
You contact us when you feel you're ready to talk about it.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
well, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
thank you.
Well, the road people do wonderful work.
Yeah, we aren't complaining about it.
They aren't complaining about it. They're all- Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Thermal energy now.
Wants to say what, like everything's a good
Well,
thing.
the
and everything.
microphone's here. Better if you can talk to the microphone.
Is there anything else you need for tonight?
Gene?
Well, let's see.
We're gonna need them for the access permits or not?
Gravel.
I don't think so. Okay.
But would you be up for that, like a meeting with those folks soon, or we could talk?
I've done one, I'm doing another one.
Did Bill build the garage? Did Bill build the garage with Henry Dodds?
No, it was after Henry Dodge,
Okay,
over dead, and Larry, I know Larry, the chairman of the time, he okayed it, Roger before me, and I told
Yeah.
him, don't move away.
yeah.
Say, it's just a short stretch.
Yeah.
Probably should be that little short stretch should be reclassified as class 4, because we do run up to the corner to where. Well, it's only maybe the length of this building from the house.
Is there a turnaround?
Dark corner there.
Is there a turnaround there?
Yeah, we got a good turnaround there, and he does right up to there, so that's all maintained. Good, so just that last little stretch. But it's tight, and it's middle of the night, snowstorm, it's no place to get bashing down there.
Well, maybe we need to do a site visit. But we should look, we'll definitely look into this a little more. Okay,
So was there anything else that you need me?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Thanks, Demi.
Bye, Tammy.
yeah, have a good night.
Chair, Select Board, and Tim up there. I remember how hard each of you worked for, I think, the whole year on the recovery from our flooding. Very, very bad damage, right, to our public properties, roads, culverts, bridges, private properties, farms, recreation spaces. I'm grateful to you. You did that hard work. Then, I don't know if you remember last summer and fall, super dry, right? It was very warm. I was uncomfortably warm. Makes me miserable. I was waiting for perhaps the state to issue an admonition that we should conserve water. That didn't come exactly, but we had that wildfire, remember? Town of Bethel. We had a fire, and then another fire in the state of Vermont somewhere else. My point I'm just making is that climate change, weather events, these things we know are unabating. More damage and trouble is coming to our town. We know it. It's sure. And sometimes it washes over me with just total dread. I don't know if anybody else here has these concerns. The one way I know to combat dread is to take action. So tonight, once again, Gene Kraus from Bethel is here. For those of you that don't know Gene, he has served his town on Select Board, Energy Committee, school boards, in many capacities. And he cares as deeply about his community and his surrounding towns as much as we do. I'm grateful that tonight Gene is going to explain to us an opportunity for Royalton to take some action. And I think of this myself as improving local energy independence and resilience. But I'm going to let someone with some expertise explain this opportunity. Gene Kraus.
Yes, thank you, Kathy. I have not served on the school board, although I've been in lots of conversations with them.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. The idea has come to some of us, and you'll see a number of people that I recognize as being part of the local node of 350 Vermont. If you want to please stick your hand up and say who you're here. That we're not talking about a short-term fix for anything. This is a long-term idea. That if the town and the school and the college were to talk with one another, there is a possibility, and we think that this is, of South Royalton is a really great opportunity to think about or consider what's called a thermal energy network. Now, a thermal energy network isn't just geothermal, stick a pipe in the ground and run it to your house. This is a complete, think in terms of a utility. It's a utility-wide network where you network the heating capacity throughout wherever you put this. And you share not just what comes out of the ground as a geothermal source of heat, but you also share the excess heat from buildings. Now, the co-op, for example, has freezers that are running and coolers and so on and so forth that are putting off heat. That heat can be captured and put back into the system. And anybody who is on the system enjoys the benefit of that circulating heat. Every place in South Royalton that you have water running into your sewers, you have a source of heat that is leaving your buildings. It's leaving the building at 70 degrees. That's the average. That heat can be captured and then recirculated throughout this network of connected properties. Each client or user who hooks up to the system they pay for the system. And because of legislation adopted last year, and you already know what it is to have a utility, you can finance this kind of thing as you finance your water system. It is now possible because of actions by the state that the governor supported to adopt a utility model to circulate heat among all of the people. And if you think from the school to the college and including the village center, every building and every resident along in that circle would have access. And it wouldn't matter whether you were rich or poor, whether you were high income, low income, but it would ultimately save every customer significant amounts of money, because what they would pay for over an extended period of time as a utility, it's a guaranteed payback for the investor. Every user you're paying for the installation and the conversion of those properties up front, but you're financing it over a long period of time. In addition to that financing availability, there is the possibility of financing from both federal and state resources, although I'm not sure how reliable any federal funding is right now for this kind of thing. And so what I am asking, and we've already approached the school, and the school board has said, yes, let's think about this. This is something that we could benefit from. We are in a process of contacting folk at the college, but I'm asking whether or not the select board would be willing to enter into a conversation. That's it, not committing to anything, but would you be willing to enter into a conversation with representatives from the campus, representatives from the school board, to see if such a project is feasible, what the ins and outs would be. And so with that brief introduction, what questions, concerns, hesitations would you have?
I think it's a valuable thing to discuss. We should always be open for discussion with our community members on things like this, so. Nothing to lose, right?
If it's a conversation, I
Yeah.
don't see why you don't have it. Yeah. So what's your, but what commitment is, I mean, we say, yes, we'd love to be part of the conversation. So what do you need from us
So, well,
next?
basically, just the willingness to meet with representatives of the other two bodies. And to which we would be willing, as 350 Vermont, to bring in somebody who knows a lot more about this kind of technology than I do. And to basically lay out what a process would look like, how long, and I'm thinking something like 5 years down the road. I'm not talking about something that's gonna be done on a dime. However, and I don't know were you planning to do any digging up of the road up in the village? In the near,
Not in that circle.
okay, not in
Sidewalk in front of the business
the
block, yeah.
sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that is that if you were digging up the road, that would be an ideal time to already think about installing that kind of a.
So how many users are needed for this kind of thing to work?
Two.
Two?
You can start small and add as you grow. That's one of the advantages of this kind of a network. That is the campus, Vermont Law could do it all by itself.
Who do you talk to there? Was Kevin Jones was the energy guy, but he died.
It's now
Who-
Mark James, we're
Yeah.
meeting with them on Thursday.
Good.
So those are all,
What kind of facility do you need to, store or the energy?
you're sitting on
Just.
the ground.
Yeah, so you just need, the-
Literally, the infrastructure involves drilling some bore hills. Some holes, just like you would drill for a water well. Now, those can be done in a floodplain because there's nothing above ground. Those could be done on the village green because there's nothing. You drill the holes and you plant back over it and it's there for 50, 75 years. You run the pipes, it's a closed loop, typically a closed loop system that connects all of the different villages. Then individuals along there could choose to be part of it. And my suggestion would be if they choose to be part of it at the beginning, you include in the funding the conversion of their particular property to be able to accept mini splits, a thermal heat pump, rather than an atmospheric heat pump, far more efficient. The colder it gets, the more efficient. The more members you sign up, the less it costs everybody individually. So it's putting my head on as a former select board member. First of all, it would require some sort of long-term thinking in terms of a bond or whatever. But ultimately, the people who pay for it are the people who enjoy the benefit of having very, low cost heat. The energy costs nothing.
Although, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say that, I at 350 went around and knocked doors and did a canvassing effort in South Doyleton to gauge interest of residents, and it was very favorable. From the residents that we spoke to about their interest in exploring a geothermal energy, network.
Especially from the angle of the low cost, that was everyone's biggest concern, like, number one, and obviously the biggest concern for us too, with the low cost heating, you know, and like people's high heating costs.
Well, let's get the law school involved, we're meeting with them this week. And figure out how we work together to discuss this, 'cause we can't make any decisions here on it. But I think.
The only,
Those are
what
things good ideas
I'm
to
hoping
discuss.
for is just to go ahead, let's have this kind of a conversation that's broader and go from there.
Yeah.
There may be other people online, I don't know.
It's Tim Murphy. You mean another select board member?
Well, no, I'm thinking
sorry.
there may be other people online who are also interested in this project, and I would welcome their giving an indication if that's the case.
Do you know how geothermal does with really inefficient old Vermont homes?
Well, ideally,
Does it heat like well?
ideally you weatherize. I mean, that's the cheapest way, that's the most effective way to reduce your energy cost. Is to weatherize. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Now, is there enough heat? Yes. There is enough heat. Engineers would come in and they would survey the living daylights out of what was being proposed. And the project would be literally designed to fit the need that's here.
Well, certainly, I'm for discussing this, so yeah, we could talk
Yeah.
about this all night long.
Okay. But not tonight.
But come back to us after you talk to the law school, and if you,
Who was that sort of the?
the energy group
Yeah, I think it
involved.
sounds like that we should be
Yeah.
part of the conversation. I'm a little concerned that we're not as close to a tight of a community as would probably be more efficient for this type of thing, but, I mean, I'm still hearing that, you know, you've got an idea of a circuit that you have to be next to it to benefit from it.
You do have to be reasonably close, but we're talking quarter mile. We're not talking,
Okay,
we're not talking 100 yards.
okay, quarter mile.
We're talking we're not talking yards. We're talking yards. We're not talking, extended different distances.
Not that we need it here, but this building would be too far away, probably.
Probably. And I'm especially thinking about, because we're over the river.
Right.
It's how do you get that water, well, however you're getting water now. Is this building on the system?
No.
See, that's,
But the terrace is. Up in back of the Valero gas station. Convenience store, all those houses are on town.
so so that's a technical something that would certainly be worth exploring.
Yeah.
Cause
Well, finding out more is, would be the thing that you should do is find out more information. But I know you said the cost of the heat is low, but what about the cost of the infrastructure?
the cost of the infrastructure has always been the thing that has held people back from putting in geothermal. We're talking about a system that reduces the cost in part because it's shared. You're not drilling a well for every property. You're recirculating heat that's already in these buildings. So we're talking about reducing the cost that way. Nobody at this point has any idea what it would specifically cost without doing the engineering studies and so on and so forth that are necessary. Every geothermal network is its own particular instance. And it's very hard to make a blanket statement of cost X number of dollars per unit or whatever. Because everyone's different, whether you're drilling into bedrock, as you probably are here, or sand, all kinds of variables.
There must be examples of communities that have done this.
There
Which is
are,
what this committee could
there
look
are,
at.
we can get leads or directions for a number of people that have already done it.
Mhm.
Both in Vermont as well as in other locations. And the town of Hartford and White River Junction is working on developing such a project. Middlebury is talking about developing such a project with the Camp College up there. So, and there are examples of that here in the state that you could talk to and see
Mhm.
what's working. And Hanover, the college, Dartmouth,
Mhm.
I believe, is putting in a
They're
system.
doing something now, yeah.
Which the law school has been, the person we're meeting with has been involved with that conversation.
Yeah.
So, really good resource.
Could you just tell me what 350 Vermont is?
350 Vermont is a citizen activist organization concerned about climate change and particularly concerned about making the impact of the rising climate crisis less for people at the lower end of the economic scale and for any solutions to be specifically directed toward those at the lower end of the economic scale. So climate action to mitigate the impact of climate change and to do that in a way that is just, and I know that's not a nice word anymore, but equitable for all.
Sounds like a good project.
Thanks for the go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Keep pushing us.
Yeah, and
We need good ideas like
Well,
this.
Yeah.
So,
And also, I mean, like, you know, we're constantly changing, this board is constantly changing.
That's right.
So I would say that what I can see being, you know, more successful or the most successful is to have a really strong core group of you guys who persist on that and finds the data that's important to the board to see and, you know, the information and the money, there's gotta be a lot of grants. If those are all like spoon fed to a board, then, you know, that's gonna be more
Yeah,
successful.
we certainly have contacts with people who can provide all that. And I think I speak for all of our local node who meets at Vail. That we will do what we can to build the community support that would be helpful. If I get word from the law school, who should I contact here about a meeting?
Victoria,
You can also email selectboard@royaltonvp.gov.
yeah,
Got it.
And then you will get all
they
five.
get all of us, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time and thank you for
Thank you, Gene.
your
Yeah.
service to the community.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gene.
I have to go, I've got another meeting instead of 20 minutes.
The law school did a good community solar project, up in Orphan Hill. I think Kevin handled that one, and I
Community,
hear it's been very successful.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Kathy.
Right, guys, thanks for coming.
Bye, Jen.
Are you the skier?
Jen, for the last person. Bye. No, Jen's not a speaker.
Was she going with Nan, with Kathy the other day?
I don't think so. I don't think she is.
Yeah. Is she?
Okay, next up is,
Oh,
flood hazard regulations.
She was very good letter.
We have
In the emails lately, I get.
an approved,
Today.
approved wording for a draft of the review to be looked at, was circulated amongst
Up in Dairy Hill.
everyone here.
Yes.
I think the next step is to decide if we're gonna accept that and move on to the discussion and public meeting. We're gonna have to have public meetings again. And that sort of thing.
You're looking at comments about the proposed language change. Stuart?
You have comments?
I have two thoughts, and one is, we got that specific recommendation from Kyle about the non-conforming uses. An alternate language to what we came up with. And I think it serves the same purpose. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has seen it outside of us. So that would be a question. Yeah,
We have not published. the
no, I,
Recommendations that were received from
Yeah.
tutors.
okay. I didn't think we had.
Well, my thought was we look, if we agree that that's okay. We approve them and then it goes through the whole cycle of people commenting and asking questions and that sort of thing, because we are the ones that are
Sure,
putting it forward.
sure. There was some significant public input on that particular issue. That's the only, that's the only thing I wanted to preserve. But I did also have a conversation with Kyle about the interior works piece that I think has been a little vexing. We changed the number. It started as 500, we changed it to 5,000
Yeah.
in the interior improvements. And that apparently is a take it or leave it clause. Changing that number makes it not worth having, but it doesn't, it will not affect our ability to improve reimbursements in case of an emergency for like the FEMA stuff. So we can either just accept it at the lower number or not have it at all. But the change we made at 5,000 is not worth it because it invalidates it, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's better to have it there, but
I mean,
we can talk that over, but it's better to have it than to have nothing there.
what is it? I mean, the more I thought about that, it's like, what effect does that have on, you know, flood hazard readiness or safety or whatever, if someone's just doing interior improvements? And it's an honest question, because the more I heard,
You mean as long as the footprint doesn't change?
yeah,
doesn't matter how much
if
you
somebody's
spend
doing a
on
kitchen
the
remodel,
inside.
if somebody's doing a kitchen remodel, how does that really affect flood hazard
Can I ask a
mitigation?
silly question?
You may.
It looks to me like this particular section to part C, the interior improvements, is talking about exempted activities, which do not require a permit under the section.
Right.
So we were trying to increase the dollar amount to $5,000 to say if you're doing something insubstantial, it doesn't require a permit. And then we've got word that it has to be 500.
Right, or not at all.
Not, right, so if you eliminate that altogether, does that just mean that any interior improvements or repairs to existing buildings require a permit always? To me, that
I
would be
took
the
it to mean
The opposite.
of
the
leaving-
opposite.
I don't think it is. I could totally be wrong, but that's not.
So
how
could
read
I,
it.
it's happened once before.
Wait, so the following activities do not require a permit under this section of the bylaw. Interior improvements or repairs existing buildings, okay. That's still just like that.
Can I say something here?
You may.
Costs less. Since if it costs less than it's exempted. If it costs more than, then you have to get a permit.
Yeah,
Right.
but
So if
Yeah.
we take it completely out,
Then you always need a permit.
no, then you never need a permit
For an interior improvement.
for interior improvement. Whatever you wanna do, you could spend $400,000 on your interior.
Right,
That's what we just said, yeah.
So I read
That's-
it the same way you read it, Patrick.
yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't change the footprint. That's what it said.
Why would there be a benefit to telling someone that lives in that area how much money they can or cannot spend? It's not, again, it's not gonna affect anything other than,
it's not saying you can't do it, it's saying you need a permit.
but why do I have to have a permit because of where I live? It's not gonna affect if it gets flooded. If I have a $400,000 kitchen or a $500 kitchen. If it floods, it floods. It's not gonna, if you don't live there, you can do whatever you choose to your kitchen. I'm not trying to be personal and confrontational, just, I don't understand what the positive to it is in any way.
That's what we're trying to
Yeah,
figure out right
that was
now.
my question, because somebody asked that very simply at one of the other meetings, like, why does that matter? And I continued to think about it, and I couldn't really, I wasn't sure I could.
There's some really good tile work that could affect the,
It's there because if somebody wanted to put in, say, that it's a major overhaul they're doing to their house and they're doing $90,000 worth of work. Under the terms of the flood hazard regulations, if they get passed like this, you need a permit, and once you apply for the permit, then the Board of Adjustment can come in and say, okay, you can do that work, but since you're rewiring the whole house, we want that panel 2 feet above base flood elevation.
Mhm.
And we want, since you're opening up the basement to put windows in, we want flood louvers in there to let flood water out. And so now they'll start doing things that actually will benefit the homeowner and benefit in case of a flood. That's why it's there. But it is, $500 is an absurdly low amount.
It is.
And does it have any effect on anyone other than the direct homeowner? I mean, safety wise, on anyone else around that house?
Yeah, one could argue that some homeowners are getting subsidized flood insurance. And if they have their panels or their mechanicals in a place where they get flooded, then everybody has to pay for that because the federal government is subsidizing that. So when they make an insurance claim, that comes out of our taxpayers' pockets.
Don't we have somewhere else in the bylaws? That language specifically to outside electrical? And don't we have other places
I think you're
that,
thinking about in case of a reconstruction or a substantial.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
Yeah,
there's other
but that-
spots that pertain to just that.
but that's in a more. That's an even bigger case, like your house is destroyed and you're rebuilding. Or it's substantially damaged and you have to rebuild.
Oh,
And that's the
That-
more than
that language
50%.
Pertains to everything.
Right,
So the Board of Adjustment can use that language on anybody's permit project, not just houses that are damaged.
Go back to the $500 or nothing. What happens if you put nothing in there? We don't have that line C at all.
if you,
Then any interior improvement requires a permit.
No,
no,
No, but
Well, so section D, development requirements in flood hazard areas, part one permits. Says except as provided in section B, D2 exempted activities, a permit is required from the AO for all development that is located within the inundation hazard area. And then it goes on to list the exempted activities. So if it's not a listed exempted activity, then it requires a permit from the AO if it's in the inundation hazard area.
no, I get it,
Up above it, under number one, it says, it keeps using the word development. And if you were doing, reconstructive work or remodeling work on your house, I would not consider that development. I would consider development being expanding footprints of structures.
well, I guess we better get a definition for development, but I mean, I would agree with that, doesn't. Development is separate than renovation.
I got development under the bylaws.
in the definitions.
Yep, any human-made change to improved or unimproved real estate, including but not limited to buildings or other structures, mining, dredging, filling, grading, paving, excavation, drilling operations, or storage of equipment or materials. So any human-made change to improved or unimproved real estate, including but not including to buildings. So doesn't really
No,
say
doesn't help.
expanding footprints.
The change to improve real estate would include upgrading your kitchen.
Mhm. Why did he say that we couldn't change that number?
FEMA doesn't allow.
Right. It was a negotiated change between, Vermont DEC and FEMA to allow the $500 exemption instead of no exemption. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah. Well,
So it's gotta go back to $500.
That's what it is. $500. Box of nails.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay.
$500 isn't even going to cover the louvers or moving the power that Peter just said that they would ask you to do if you asked for a permit. So you've handcuffed everybody to not be able to do anything.
Without a
no,
permit.
it's just putting everything in front of this to be determined board that's gonna be effectively a de facto building
That's right.
committee. Right.
That's exactly.
We're turning over all of that decision-making to this authority. That we don't even know who they're gonna be. In a town where we don't have a building code. Just in the floodplain. Right?
So is
So, but-
your amendments not yet for public view, or how do we have to go online to get them, or?
This is we just
So-
started discussing it just
Well, this
now.
is-
We just got.
Like the agenda says for public comments, but how can we comment on something we don't know?
There is a draft of the ordinance that was published. The select board held a public meeting and took public comments. And they made some potential edits, but because of the relationship between the DEC and FEMA and the town, we were holding those potential edits until comments came back from the state. So that the select board could review those and finalize a draft version for republication.
Right, so it's a review of comments from,
Not the public.
right,
So one of the things we changed was this $500 remodel of your kitchen to a $5,000 remodel. Well, that's unacceptable according to the state, so we have to put it back to 500. Put the changes into the document, release the document, and have a public meeting. And that's where we're trying to work out
trying to get to.
if that's worth it. Because I agree that it doesn't let you do anything without permit.
So where else can we put it in the flood hazard to say? It's fun to do inside renovations. There's no permit necessary.
You cannot.
You can't.
There's nowhere that can be tucked in to this draft.
No.
Is there a place to waive the permit fee for, you know what I mean? Is there any other?
Select board has the right to do that anytime they want.
Yeah. We could. When we set that fee schedule, we could say that interior renovations under a certain amount, fee is waived. You'd still have to file a piece of paper, but it wouldn't cost you. You could do something like that, sure.
It seems like it's time to move on. 500 is 500
Yep.
and adopt it and put it in front of the community to discuss.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Not much choice.
There's another one. What was the other?
Yeah, so non-conforming structures and uses, which is on page 21. There was a suggested change in language for Article 2. So initially in this format, non-conforming structure substantially damaged or destroyed may be reconstructed in its previous location, only in circumstances when the structure cannot be relocated. And this just changing that the non-conforming structure shall be reconstructed in a compliant location, and if not able to do so, may be reconstructed under the variance process.
What's the variance process?
Anybody who has a structure that's non-conforming,
Bye, Kathy.
needs a variance, so if your house is in the flood hazard area and you get flooded. And you have a higher ground on your parcel. And your house is substantially damaged, you say, well, I'm gonna tear it down and rebuild it, which you can get a permit for. What this is saying is, okay, you can rebuild it, but you have to go to the higher ground. And if you can't, there's no higher ground, then you need to get a variance. Now you have to go through the permit process to get a variance to keep it where it is. So you keep it where it is, it's just, you can't be forced to move to higher ground if you don't have it. This is all, I think, new language that they're developing now. Because this isn't stuff that we discussed before, so
No.
I think this.
This was a suggestion from Kyle.
Right, because I think they think this is better language than what we had.
So you're saying if you're building or a house gets flooded and destroyed, you can't just rebuild it?
You can get a permit to get it rebuilt, right?
But that's always been the case.
It's currently still is, like if you're in a 100-year flood hazard area, if your house gets flooded, you need a permit to rebuild. You can do it, you'll get the permit, but there might be some caveats in your permit, like all your mechanicals have to be 2 feet above base flood elevation. Things like that. So what this is saying is if you get flooded and you have higher ground, Steve, you have a perfect parcel for that, right? So if you built down, say if you had a house down low.
Right.
That you have higher ground where your shed is now, that they would say, okay, you can't, since you have higher ground, you can put your new structure up there. And you can't put it back where it was. So you can rebuild it, just has to be at your higher ground, which would only make sense for a person who got flooded to build as high as they can.
And if you have no higher ground
Then
on
you
your
can get
property,
variance.
you've gotta build it up to 3 feet or whatever they say that we have to do.
It's not saying that, it's you have to get a variance, so you have to go through the
What variant? I mean, I don't know what that is.
So everybody has to move up if you have to. You get a variance because you can. What they're saying is that we can't make you move to higher ground if you don't have it.
It's your ground, yeah, if it's already on the highest piece of.
Correct, like your parcel, you can't get any
I
higher.
can't get any higher.
No.
So for you, does that mean you're gonna have to go across the tracks?
I don't know, is that what that would mean?
You got an ag crossing, right? You can't put a house across the tracks. No, you couldn't be forced to move. Because you can't build there either.
Okay.
What if part of your property was not affected during the prior floods and part of it was? Does that mean all of it sits in the floodway? I mean,
It depends on how it's mapped, Carol. So if you can have a parcel that is both in and out of the flood hazard area. But you could also have a parcel that's completely in the flood hazard area. But some parts are higher than others. So if you get flooded, you'll have to move to the higher part, even though it's still in the flood hazard area if you wanted to rebuild. So you have less chance of getting flooded.
So you can rebuild this on your same like foundation structure with not saying I have to raise up my furnace from the basement or anything.
No, it's the Board of Adjustment. By our bylaws could require you to put all your mechanicals up above the base flood elevation. But if you do that, you'll actually qualify for lower insurance rates. So if you want to put your furnace and stuff back in the basement, the Board of Adjustment might say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to let you put it there. But you can put it up on the first floor, you know, in this big mechanical room that you just built. You could put it all there and now you'll qualify for lower insurance.
But I'd have to add another whole renovation on my property, which is also gonna be a problem to put that on.
Yeah, this is gonna really pertain to structures that were severely damaged, like you can't live in them, they have to be completely gutted. We're not talking about someone who wants to add an addition to a house that didn't get damaged. We're talking severe damage. And it doesn't serve the landowner well to not build it up above, because you got flooded once. Why would you put your most valuable things in your house, your furnace, your panel, things like that, down where it can get flooded again? You want to put them up.
Isn't the question though, I mean, you took public comment, you made a proposed change. Some higher being proposed further changes, and do the proposed changes materially alter the change that you all had proposed or not. I mean, I
That,
can't
that's what we're,
tell.
that's what we're trying
I know,
to,
but
that's
I
what we're
can't
trying to
tell.
suss out as well.
Cause if it doesn't materially change it, then, you know, sort of adopt it and then we can have a broader community discussion. But if it's just a bunch of words that are, you know, essentially consistent with what you all had already agreed, then, you know, next topic.
That would be my read. That
Yes.
it's minor changes to what, it's not a major change.
But not talking about the fundamental
Right.
issue, which is, you know, are we effectively handing over our property rights to others? It's whether this language should be put in the proposed
Right.
amendment or not. Not to, I'm just one citizen's view of.
No, but you captured the moment pretty well. Yes.
Can I ask if somebody who's been flooded before, how your insurance has changed since then? Have they asked you to make certain changes or status quo is fine?
I can answer that. It's Sandy Conrad, Tim.
Hey,
It's,
Sandy.
I didn't get flood insurance because I can't afford it. And so I did not get it when my home flooded in 2011. And so they've made some changes, but it's still very expensive on top of my taxes to do it. So I'm still working as well.
Right.
So I'd say no, I didn't, and I didn't get the insurance because I can't afford it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So what are the next steps for if we were to try to get this, where we're still talking about trying to get this to town meeting?
Mhm.
Can we do one thing at a time and finish the edits and then talk about what
Oh,
comes
yeah, I'm
after?
sorry, we still have more edits, okay.
No, I
sorry.
think this is it, isn't it? This one?
I thought so,
thought there
but
was two.
There's one other
All right.
language change.
Let's agree that this is it's essentially saying the same thing
Yes.
and we'll move on.
You want to accept this recommendation?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we need a motion to do so?
No.
Okay, good.
Willing to accept the whole document.
Let me see if I can find the other one. I don't know if I highlighted that one. I apologize. Yeah, so under, it's on page 7, the conditional use review.
Yep.
The select board had changed that language about, the non-conforming structures. Two Rivers suggested language modification that says uses made non-conforming in the river corridors area as a result of the adoption of the ordinance shall be allowed to continue so long as the use is not subsequently abandoned. A non-conforming use shall be considered abandoned when it is not actively in use for its intended purpose for more than 12 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, is that a, you wouldn't have to get you wouldn't have to get a permit.
Right,
Oh.
we would just have to document existing non-conforming uses.
Yeah.
So if we had something like a deed or something like that, that would be adequate.
Yeah, they were talking about aerial photo, but just use satellite imagery.
That gets updated from time to time.
Right, we'd have to have something that we recorded when this gets passed. That we could use.
Like you would just like take a snapshot of the whole town the day you pass it or something like that.
You know, or
I mean, you can use Google Earth to look backwards also. There are ways to look
Yeah,
at
you can go back in
historical
time.
imagery.
It's pretty cool, actually.
Oh, yeah, that is, yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I move we adopt this.
With the suggested changes.
Yes. I'm not sure why we wouldn't. They're the experts.
Sorry, Tim, just want to ask a question about the 12 months standard for abandonment. I mean, does that mean, let's say I have a structure, it's not a residence, it's a old post and beam farm.
Well, this is specifically about uses. So we're talking about someone who has a materials pile. That, that
But
they
what
have.
about the structure that I put sheep in, okay, you know, from time to time over the course of the year? Is that,
Well, it's not gonna be abandoned for 12 months.
what I mean, is it's okay that it's sort of like, you know, you just move sheep in there for 3 weeks and then they kind of move on.
Get
That's
a,
enough to resuscitate the next 12 months.
get a picture of the sheep and,
With their names.
Yeah.
and a date.
Yeah, I mean, the plain reading, I think the plain reading of more than 12 months is 12 months, yeah. It's like, so,
So I do this in Sharon. I enforce the thing in Sharon. If you got a barn in the flood hazard area and sheep are there, they're not there, I don't pay attention. You know, the building is solid, now it starts falling down.
Well,
And clearly the roof has fallen off, and then you say, and it sits like that for 5 years, and it hasn't been used for anything. I'm gonna say it's abandoned, you abandoned that structure. But if you were kind of using it on and off, I don't pay attention. No one's gonna be worried about that, no one's got the time to worry about that. So, it's to get at structures that have now fallen into, literally fallen apart. And so they throw that 12-month period in there. So that covers houses if you get flooded, say Sandy, heaven forbid, gets flooded again and completely walks away from the house for 12 months. And it's completely flood wrecked, can't live there. And now at month 13 says, oh, I'm gonna move back in. At that point, someone could say, well, you abandoned the house. Now, if she gets a permit during that time period, like 6 months in, then she'll have to immediately have the house back up to snuff within a year. She'll have the period of time to bring it back up.
yeah, I just want to be able to repair a structure that has not been, it's been in use, it hasn't been particularly well
Yeah.
sort of cared for.
I think abandoned is
Easy to
is the key word there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, is motion,
Do you think it's seconded?
I will second it.
All those in favor of accepting the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I,
You made the motion. Now we go to next steps.
Sent the board information regarding the difference between a bylaw and an ordinance, because these regulations have been referred to as both, and there are different procedures for those two things. So we just need some clarification on what the plan is, and then you'll know what the next steps are.
So another conversation I had with Two Rivers, and these are indeed bylaws. We have used the terms interchangeably. The feedback I got is that it does not make a difference in terms of enforcement or any of that, but these are bylaws. And so my understanding is bylaws, we can send to the general public for a vote.
I recall there was this mention at one point about bylaws and ordinances you can enforce with fees, but you can't do that without an ordinance.
I asked that specific question and was told that's not the case.
Okay. That's what I heard, so that's why I was thinking that was the case. So what you're saying is there is no reason to have an ordinance if we have a bylaw and
We have a
that's
bylaw
good
and
enough.
has the same effect, yeah.
Okay. So what's that do for you?
It's not what it does for me, it's what it does for the select board.
All right, well, what's it do to us then?
So, bylaw can be voted by the public. You would need to have another public hearing because you've made changes to the draft ordinance since the last public hearing.
Mhm.
Um,
And then a vote.
and then a vote.
And it has to be within a certain amount of time before, if we were to put this on the
Right, so what's,
ballot.
I
during
guess
town
our
meeting.
question would be, what's the time,
Time.
if we want this to be in up for Australian ballot on town meeting day?
You would need to add the question to the warning. Otherwise you're gonna have a pre-town meeting anyway.
Mhm.
Which is an adequate amount of time, but that will suffice as the public hearing,
And we only need one meeting, one public hearing.
to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be a certain amount of time before pre-town or town meeting?
They just changed the rules and bylaw rules are different than the other, so Australian ballot rules used to be within 10 days prior to the vote, but they just changed that to within 30 days prior to the vote, but either way, your pre-town meeting is generally 10 days before a town meeting. So,
So
You should be fine.
it covers, it covers both possibilities.
yes.
I mean, it seems like it should be it seems like it should be separate than pre-town meeting to me. Because this is gonna be a thing that more people want to discuss separately. I don't know. But
Well, I think it's harder to get people to come out for a separate meeting. You get more attention.
I think that would be the plus is folks are gonna, if they're coming out for a pre-town meeting, and it also gives them an opportunity to give us feedback on this and vice versa. If they're just coming out for this, then they'll be there for the pre-town meeting also. But
yeah,
but it could make pre-town meeting
long.
big and long. Sure. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here.
Make a comment about that too. It's
Sure.
like, whenever we have the public meetings, like, you don't even put down what we say in the meeting minutes. No, I just think 10 days before, like, what is the value of our public comments? That's how it makes me feel like you really don't want to care, or you don't care what I have to say. Because nothing can change after that, right? And that's the frustration that I feel has happened in this process ever from the beginning with the planning commission. Don't want our feedback. You're not putting them in the minutes. There's not one comment that we made that reflects in your bylaws.
Well, that's not true because we had Jacob here and we had the last meeting.
Which I don't feel was properly, like, it wasn't in Front Porch Forum. I didn't even know it. You guys know I've been following this issue for like almost a year.
We have certain places we post our meetings, and Front Porch Forum is not one of them.
Well, hopefully we can add that on because most people aren't going to the, sites where you post an agenda. I just feel like you guys know this is an important topic for the town. And so to try to get it out to as many things that we do. They definitely posted in the Front Porch Forum for the public meetings through the planning commission and Front Porch Forum. That's how I learned about them.
I thought we were trying to hide it all from you, Sandy.
Yeah, you guys didn't properly post the minutes. That's why we're still having this conversation in January.
We got put on Front Space Forum because we went the extra step. That's why it's on there. We didn't have
For
to do
the
that.
public, not your regular meeting. So that's what I'm saying. It would be helpful to have it out, I'm hoping you guys will change when each year that you propose where you're gonna start posting information, it would be good to add that.
We've talked about adding a listserv because one of the problems with putting these kind of discussions on Facebook, for example, is you get people that are complainers that all they wanna do is complain and, if you wanna come to the meeting like you folks are doing, that's the best way to get feedback to us. So we have listened. We're talking about it. So I think you'd look at seeing them, probably see, some social media on the next, approved form for notices and that sort of thing.
The question I have is, and I think I heard Patrick say it, I think I heard it also, so the proposal is it's gonna be put up for Australian ballot, which, as I understand, means there's no discussion at town meeting day, so I think it makes it all the more important that there be both sufficient time at the meeting, wherever this bylaw is gonna be discussed. And adequate time for, in advance of sort of town meeting for it to happen, because if that's the only opportunity where there will be the opportunity to perhaps hear your neighbors and maybe influence your neighbors another, it's gonna make it all the more important that there be a real public forum on it, because it won't be discussed at town meeting, it'll just be up or down at town meeting. But I interpret Australian ballot rules correctly.
Yes,
There is no discussion.
right, right. It's not a floor vote. Right.
That's why we have pre-town meeting
That's what I'm saying, so as long
to
as, I
discuss
think,
that.
my point was very important for this particular issue. That.
Well, let me raise my hand.
Can't see you, Joe.
It's JoJo.
I think it said it won't let her raise her.
Yeah,
hand,
I guess
maybe?
her hand raise isn't working.
Maybe
Oh.
she needs help to, I
Which
mean,
one
maybe.
is she? Is she the iPhone?
She's the blank one.
She's the blank one.
Oh,
So you're saying pre-town meeting is a good spot for this?
I'm saying any opportunity that is gonna have the greatest potential to draw as many people as possible.
and that's how it's off. Might work because you'll get.
Well, it won't let me go on video. Let me raise my hand.
We can hear you, JoJo.
Oh, thank you.
We don't see you.
Who's talking about meeting? That is the only opportunity to discuss.
You there? No, she cut out.
No, it looks like we lost JoJo.
Completely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just, she was talking too loudly.
She'll come back, maybe, hopefully.
Okay, well, I think we should keep going. With the, pre-town, put it on the, post it on the warning. Or add the question to the warning.
Yeah, the bylaws will be in the town report. So people will have a chance to actually look at them.
And it will go to everybody.
And it'll be discussed at pre-town meeting. Have you got any other comments on this, this topic from anybody?
I'm just trying to clarify all this. So the draft bylaws can be discussed, but they can't be changed at pre-town meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct. The question will be for the bylaw as,
So pre-town meeting can be discussion, but can't be changed.
and information. Yep.
Thank you.
but you could. If you could decide at pre-town meeting or at a subsequent meeting before the actual vote, that you have reason to pull the vote.
Sure.
So you heard concerns or something that made you guys change your mind, you could, based on that meeting, could say, we'll have another pass vote.
We could withdraw the question, yes.
Right.
We're gonna move on to highway access permits. And I had initially, reviewed two of them looked fine, and then there was one that, 2501, I was concerned about the,
White flag crew,
You lost all the young people after
The right of way,
geothermal stuff, you lost
but-
everybody else after.
it looks like the right of way has been registered or
Recorded.
wait, you?
Has anybody put eyes on them?
Has anybody said, well, I'm sorry, Tim?
Site
Has
visit?
anybody put eyes on them, like physically?
I don't know.
I have not.
I have not. I'd hesitate to approve something that hasn't been looked at.
Not a bad policy.
We've gotten in trouble before. Trying to avoid that. Can we table these till the next meeting?
We do these till next meeting and some of us get out there? Is
Yeah,
that what you're
let's,
suggesting, Tim?
Yes, please.
Should we have
And so
There was one that,
we generally tell people that it takes us between 30 and 45 days to process these. In particular, the folks on Gilman Road are anxious to be able to make their connection.
and,
To the
and
town highway
when
system.
was their permit filed?
December 10th.
So we'll be beyond 45 days if we go into one.
Right.
Can we send someone in this week to go look at it and then be? the
Can we,
voice?
can we authorize, I would change that to say, can we authorize somebody, if they go out and look and approve, to make the decision for the select board? That's how I would. Like,
That's what yeah.
thanks. Good
Okay, do we
suggestion.
break these up, or one person do them all, or, how do you wanna do this? One's on Gilman Road, one's on Gee Hill.
I can
Well,
do
when
Key
was the
Hill.
other one? When was the other one? The December 10th was Gilman Road. When were the other ones?
Key Hill, they submitted back in September, but they weren't gonna start work until the spring, and the permit's only valid for a year after it's issued. So after discussing with the property owner, I held that one. And the other one, I apologize, I don't know when it came in.
No, this one's on Royalton Hill.
So really the Gilman Road one is the,
Those are the folks who are looking.
who
for
are
the-
anxious and
Yes.
who have filed more than a month ago already. So really, we could just do the delegation thing on that one and then take up the other two next meeting after we have a chance. Maybe multiple of us to look.
Yeah, okay, anyone wanna volunteer?
For Gilman? Tim, it doesn't sound like you'll have too many more driveways to worry about.
Give me the coordinates and I'll do it. I'm doing a site visit. I'm taking some time off tomorrow to do a site visit somewhere else, so.
The permit should be an email. It's,
I might be able to do it tomorrow.
number 2502.
2502. Let me write that on my phone.
Is it 02 or 01? That's 02?
It's
02,
yeah.
okay.
Tim, I can resend it to you.
That would be great. Thank you.
They do have maps.
Can I see it?
Which is
I can't
always
open it.
refreshing. But the Rainville Vesper one in Gilman, or is that, oh, that's Gee,
Yeah.
okay, never mind.
Gilman Road 2251.
Thank you.
Okay, and for the other two, we should, make an effort to get them looked at for the next meeting.
Yep,
So
sounds good.
Tim, you're taking 2502,
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it tomorrow.
and we'll,
Thank you, Tim.
we
Well-
will,
Demi usually weighs in on these too. Maybe I'll ask him. He generally just says yes.
Yeah, we know.
I thought I signed, I don't see his signature, but there was,
Ronnie
they
Reno,
ran it
that-
by and. Okay, gravel pit review.
What's that?
News.
Bids, there were two bids. Did you see the bids?
All right. I saw that there were bids,
There were bids. One was significantly lower than the other one. One was about 14,000, the other one was 31 or 32,000.
The bid from VHB is 32.5, and the bid from Harrington Civil Engineers is 14.8.
So that's a significant difference. And I noticed that Harrington also in their bid allowed for one hearing or a public meeting, and
VHB.
VHB was going to charge us an hourly for any public meeting or hearing. But to me, that was the biggest difference. VHB seemed to have a lot more bells and whistles, talking about LiDAR and drone work and all sorts of stuff. And for my part, I think on a project that already exists and that there is map work that was done in the past, even if it's not great map work, reinventing the wheel with $18,000 more is maybe not the way we want to go.
I agree.
So. We don't see any advantage of going with the higher one.
None that stood out. I mean, unless someone else had input as to relative quality of work that they're aware of firsthand or something like that. Those are my thoughts.
Anyone else have any input on these? Do you want to get a motion going to accept one of them?
If there's no other discussion, I would move that we accept the bid from Harrington for this project.
I'll second.
And, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Say aye for the motion to accept Harrington.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Oakwood paving.
Sent the select board the package from the engineer with the proposed plans for construction and bid package and suggested contract. The engineer was looking for any comments or approval of those plans as submitted.
It's more and more expensive.
long it's gonna go down, no?
No.
We're gonna go with a thicker, pavement option. They gave us one to scale it back a little bit. I just don't think it'd just be more expensive to do it the next time.
We did not make any reductions to the scope for the bid, but we do have a clause in the bid package itself that the select board reserves the right to negotiate down if the cost of the project exceeds available funds, which is fairly standard.
Yeah. You looking for a motion to accept?
Yeah.
I would make a motion to accept the bid package as is.
Second that.
Any further discussion?
Turn it back into a gravel road.
All those in favor of accepting the bid as is? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. You have information on the sewer rate?
The required sewer rate is $2.54 per hundred.
What was it?
$2.40. It's not unusual for the rate in December to be higher than the rate in July because water consumption goes down in the colder months. Where we used 200,000 gallons less in this 6 months period than we did in the prior 6 months period.
Is that a typical variance?
Yes and no.
Yeah. It changes, but
Yeah.
but not in a predictable way.
Not to the point where you could consistently hit it.
Sure.
How's the Chris Babcock project progressing? Do you know by any chance? Any murmurings? Because that's
I
gonna.
don't have information on that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I believe that the rate is what it is, so, need to,
Make a motion to accept the sewer rate at $2.54 per hundred.
Should I sit this one out because I'm on it?
No, because you're not doing yourself any favors.
That's for sure. I'm gonna vote in favor.
go second.
You're doing yourself dirty as much as anybody else.
Yeah, I'll second.
All those in favor of accepting the rate of 254, say aye.
Aye. You want it now?
Yeah.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Town meeting warning.
Town meeting warning. I sent the select board a very boring town meeting draft. The board had talked previously, so we'll have to add, obviously the bylaw vote, which will be Australian ballot. I have too many windows open, I apologize.
Yeah.
And then the board had also asked about the possibility of a local option tax. That is also something that you would want to add to your town meeting warning if that's something that you would like to pursue. You also don't have things on here like to hear the report of officers, which some towns like to do. I had also sent the board the VLCT like model articles in case there was anything else fun and exciting. Just at this point, really just looking for some input from the board. You do have a little bit of time before you have to finalize this to be able to get it into town report and get your legal warnings out. It'll be really close for hitting the newspaper if you wait until the 28th for the legal, but they could probably do it. I just have to check with them and make sure they are willing to hold space for us.
Yeah, it's kind of,
The last day to warn town meeting is, Sunday, February 2nd. So in order to hit the newspaper on Thursday, the 30th, they generally want that stuff by Tuesday. But sometimes they can sneak illegal on Wednesday, especially
We
if they
have
know it's
one
coming.
meeting before that.
Yeah, you have a meeting on the 28th, but that would be a tight call for
Yeah.
the newspaper. And it also means that you're gonna hold the printing of the town report
Mhm.
until that last week of January, which is also kind of close. Particularly with the flood hazard ordinance, the sooner you can get that out, the better.
The information you gave us on the local option tax makes it we could make a lot of money on it.
It
1%.
does appear
Is it?
like it is a viable source of revenue. I did not call anyone at the tax department and make sure that the information that I interpreted was accurate. But on first blush, it seems like it would be worthwhile to pursue, yes.
That would be all purchases made at all the businesses in town.
Yeah, well, so there's two tracks. There's the rooms and meals, and then there's sales. So there's. Again, I'm just going on gut feeling. I believe that they would be separate votes, that you would have to vote local option tax for each. I'm not
For each
certain
one.
about that, but my instinct would be that they are separate and you could do them separately.
You think 1% would hurt? And something like Worthy Burger, would most people know?
I mean, that's why I think not in general, no.
I think the rooms and meals is almost a no-brainer because that's, to me, that's much more of a discretionary spending, and so slapping 1% on that is not as much of a burden. You know, if it's all sales and it's everything people buy that it would be stuff that they need if they went to Auchan, or if they're going to the market to buy, well,
It's not food,
wouldn't cover.
it's exempt.
Food is
Yeah, it's
exempt,
just
so,
anything that's subject to state sales. tax.
yeah. Whereas, rooms and meals, that's a real choice. You wanna go out to Worthy Burger, or you wanna go to Crossroads for a burger and a beer? Then that's fine, and,
Or it anyways.
and, yeah, and then the town gets
Yeah, and my
1%
thought-
off that.
My thought on rooms and meals was really as a way of avoiding taxing the people who live here more, whereas on everything, it would be people like us
Yeah.
running out to grab,
Well-
an auto parts going to,
Or arguably, even if it's, even if the rooms and meals is falling on people here, it's falling on people who are making that choice because they feel they can afford to go out to eat that night.
Would this tax the deli sandwiches that RB makes?
It would tax
they don't-
anything that is subject
They
to.
don't tax
rooms
us
and
now
meals
on any
tax.
food. Yeah.
and alcohol, right? Doesn't it?
Yes,
Mhm.
alcohol is subject to rooms and meals.
Yeah,
It's under the
it should-
same
it should be the
umbrella, I
same
believe.
thing. I thought it was different. I thought it was different because it's alcohol.
They were just noisy out there. Jen.
I think it'd be a great revenue source. I just look at the empty buildings in town, and I'm not sure if, I just worry about, making sure that the folks there are gonna have to pass this on to us, so I'm just a little worried about being taxed to death.
It's not an expense that the businesses would incur. It's a tax that the customer would pay at the point of sale.
Right. So does it make us less desirable to come to South Royalton? I'm just trying to weigh these things because
Yeah.
people are about to get sticker shock with our budget. maybe it's not the best. I can be outvoted. I'm fine with it. I'm just
Not the best timing.
not the best timing.
Yeah, I mean, I just brought it up last time as an idea. I wasn't even expecting to. You know,
We're gonna get an increase on how our transfer station fees, our property taxes, our school tax. I think they're raindrops, and I think the barrel is shallow this year. But that's my opinion. And
I mean, the whole idea of this really is to generate some revenue that's not directly from the people who live here and who are getting taxed to death. It's an idea of bringing in money from outside, people who are coming
Yep.
here to enjoy our town. So that's the like
Yeah.
hope. But I mean, I can see what it just sounds like another tax, so I can see
That's what people are gonna hear. Is the word tax. But again, if I get outvoted, I'm just trying to make it.
So, I mean, so we don't really have time to discuss this anymore if we want to put it in the town meeting warning. Is that what the problem is? Like, we're down to a time crunch is what I'm understanding.
We could discuss it again next time, but that's like drop dead because it's already up against the wall.
I think we vote on it tonight, honestly. I don't think it's gonna change a lot.
No.
No, I think it's one of those opportunities that more times not really beneficial.
Look into it more.
Well, yeah, I just don't know enough about it, but I
Yeah.
mean, I guess
Well, it's hard to defend it when we don't know enough about it
That
ourselves.
might be a good reason to vote it down.
Yeah.
If we don't know much about it, then.
No, we don't have to take a vote at all. We can just.
Well, you know what, actually, like, I don't know, put it on there, and let people. I would certainly do some more research myself before before the meeting and. Look for reasons to, and if it gets voted down, it gets voted down, and then,
What's the mechanism?
Moving
here?
on.
We pass this.
No,
No.
the voters have to pass it.
The voters have.
So the
Okay.
decision at the select board level is whether or not you'd like to put it before the voters on the warrant.
to adopt a option tax
Correct.
for the future.
Correct, yeah, so if the voters approved it at town meeting, then we would need to notify the Department of Tax. And it would start, I believe, July 1st is how it works. There's a little bit of a lag. Where it starts.
Well, there is a school of thought, says we're gonna be taking such a wicked caning on pre-town meeting over the flood hazard and the budget. Why not roll this in? Maybe folks will appreciate the angle of bringing in money, offsetting some of the other stuff from people that go out to eat and heaven forbid if we ever got like a hotel or something around here.
Well, also, does it affect Airbnb? Those are the questions that it would be nice if we understood better. But
Does it affect rentals?
no,
No,
Okay.
it does Airbnb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Henderson's,
for me, that says, let's put it on there. Let's just take our beating all at once.
I agree with you, Patrick. Is that a motion? I don't know.
I moved to have us publicly flogged on pre-town meeting day.
That sounds like a motion.
Yeah, I move that we put the rooms and meals, option tax
Proposal?
proposal, up for a vote on town meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Will there be some explanation about it in the town report?
I think there should be.
That's something I was gonna come back to as a more general,
Should we talk about
because
before we
I
vote?
think, okay, I think absolutely there should be something in there about it.
Explain
And I
it,
also
yeah.
think, in retrospect, I think the select board report should probably have some sort of explanation of this budget that we're presenting, as well as the flood hazard bylaws that we're presenting. And I'm more than willing to help craft those in a very timely order. But I think we need to explain all of
Explain
this.
it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what the projected income would be.
Sure, that would be crucial,
Yeah.
yeah. Or at least a potential projected income.
Yeah,
Can I ask a question? Do you know if, what the last time our budget increase was like this? When was the last time that
we
it
haven't
was
had
this
a
much
budget.
of a jump?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Is there any way of you getting that information for us?
I can look,
Because if things haven't gone up, you guys, in like 20 years, if this has been if
Yeah,
everybody's
so-
kept it down, everything is expensive now.
but so I started in 2020, and it was very much the practice of the select board to try to keep the budget flat or as small of an increase as possible. And their practice was that surplus in the budget was used to buy down the tax rate.
Because we had a good surplus.
Because there was some surplus and that's what they were doing at the time. The problem is that eventually that catches up to you.
Yeah.
So it was 2023, I wanna say. That the select board had added the salary of a town manager
Right,
into the budget and also bought down some surplus, and the town manager was voted down. But they kind of used that opportunity to stop the practice of adding surplus to the budget, and that did cause a small increase. But I think this is the most substantial increase that the town will have seen. At least in recent
In
history,
decades,
potentially,
and
yes.
potentially decades, and
We certainly did not keep up with the rate of inflation from, 2020 to.
and these are all points,
2020.
I mean, it doesn't make it any nicer, but these are
bullet points.
These are things we need to remind people of when they see the number and get sticker shock and get angry,
And
which,
hate us.
and I don't blame them for a moment, but I mean, there are explanations, whether you consider them reasons.
It's very similar to what happened last year with the Department of Education and the education tax rate, is that the surplus in the ed fund was gone, and so those rates corrected to reflect more of an actual. From what I've seen this year, actually, Royalton's ed rate is gonna go down a little bit. That's what the projection was that I most recently saw. So, I mean, that's nice. It'll
Yeah.
offset the municipal rate a little bit, but yeah, it's tough. It's a tough increase.
It's gonna be a hard thing for the three of you to defend a town meeting, because Tim and I won't be there.
You're not gonna be physically
No.
there.
No,
John,
that's what I've missed in 75 years, so
oh Lord, where are you gonna be?
away.
We don't
I'm gonna be
even.
in France skiing,
Oh, you've been in France?
yeah.
I mean,
So invest in the flak jacket now.
Yeah,
you do have a little bit of time to revisit your budget if you would like. You have made some significant increases for maintenance needs at the academy building and in the highway fund, which I'm not saying are not necessary. But if it was the decision of the board, you could choose to back off on some of those a little bit. And look at it for next year. I mean, you're really just buying yourselves a year
that's the
of
problem, we've
staving
been
off
putting
that
it off
increase.
every year.
Again, I do not disagree.
Yeah.
It's just, if,
No, I know,
It's an option.
I had thought about that
Yeah.
very option, but,
can we change it? We can't change it after it's printed, or we can say, oh, surprise.
Yeah.
guys."
It's town meeting, you can vote whatever you would like from the floor, but bring your calculator, because I also will not be there.
I know, I love this,
Right. I'm
getting better
of-
and better,
I mean,
guys.
I'm of two minds on this, because on the one hand, I feel like we absolutely need to revisit this and try to do something to make it better. As opposed to, going in knowing that, there's a far greater than zero chance that this thing gets voted down. And then we're back at square one with a board that now has two more brandy new members who did not have anything to do with putting this budget together. And we're faced with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like we put this budget together. I feel like this is the reality that we have to deal with, like, it's
Yeah,
not
well
an
then-
optional
Well, then,
thing.
I think we need to make a reasoned and well laid out explanation in the town report
I agree,
to the people.
I agree. And those things that we just talked about need to
Yeah.
be bulleted and highlighted. But, so this kind of relates, sorry for me going off on this direction, but it's coming back to this. Can you remind me how much the law school gives us every year?
For the Betterment Fund,
Yeah,
it just changed, I wanna say it's like
40.
48.
48, it was 40,
We
right?
just changed it,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know,
okay.
It's like, I
I'm
think it's
sorry.
40-ish, does that help?
Well, I mean, I know
And
they
that
put,
goes
I
into
thought,
the Community Betterment Fund.
right, I know that some of it was put towards the sidewalk. I thought that was a one-time thing towards that sidewalk. When,
None of the
Mhm.
community betterment money has been officially designated for the sidewalk. So, some of the community betterment money currently is designated by request of the law school to go to, the rescue squad building. It's
Right,
$20,000
okay.
of their
Yeah.
contribution. I think it is 40,000.
Yeah.
Their contribution that's designated
half of it,
for
yeah.
that purpose for this fiscal year. Otherwise, we have been setting aside $50,000 annually into the capital improvement fund for the sidewalk project. But the select board also has kind of been saving some of that community betterment money because there are going to be some costs that aren't eligible to be covered by the grant. And just because the costs are not really yet known with construction and bidding and all of that. So it's not officially set for that purpose, but there was a thought of that money might be made available if needed.
okay, but so around 40, maybe 48.
I believe it's
40.
40.
It's
I
40.
think it's 40.
Yeah, I think it's 40. I think it's $40,000 a year from VLS.
Yes.
Well, I'm wondering what the board thinks about asking VLS for more money.
I think we did this as it's a 5-year.
Yeah, so it's a 5-year
Yeah.
agreement. There's
Last year.
Last year. And so it's.
Cause it went up.
It's the $40,000 contribution to the Betterment Fund, and it's also the scholarship
Yeah,
for local graduates to be able to attend the school, tuition free. For that, I believe it's one a year, or it can be split between two, but it's one tuition annually.
I think they also make a donation to the fire department, right?
They do also make a donation to the fire department. They do also pay a higher proportion of the debt service on the wastewater treatment plant than a regular resident does.
so 5 years, that comes up in
28.
2029, something like that.
So you can help negotiate it next time.
well, I won't be here, I'm sure, after March, aren't we all getting,
No, you don't
you
know.
know? In
No.
March?
No.
I'm just saying.
No, you don't run out
28
this
is a
year.
long way away.
You won't know.
What?
You got another year, at
You got
least,
another
and then you
year.
run for
I
reelection.
know, I was talking run out of town. I was
Oh,
talking
you're gonna
about
get it run out of
run
town.
out.
Oh, that's what you meant.
All of us, run out of town.
I don't think you will. I think you
Do we have a
make a
motion on the floor?
strong
You do.
case for the budget.
I just, $40,000 is generous, and obviously, I mean, I love the law school. I just think the cost of everything is crazy. And yes, really, taxpayers are gonna be, I'm a taxpayer, it's gonna be hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, and I think it would be worth to ask nicely, at least in 2028, for them to fund one of our police officers, for them to be responsible for that, or something, so that we could get a little more reprieve, I think it would be worth revisiting that, but as the board changes all the time,
Do you
this
just
will
have to
probably be
continue
lost in
running
the
till
abyss.
you're here then?
What's that?
You'll just have to continue running, so you're sitting right there in 2028.
Yeah, or I'm just bringing it up to you guys right now.
Did you go to we got a motion on the floor. so
Yeah.
we're
What do we
beyond
have for the
that,
motion?
yeah.
I forget.
Option tax.
The option tax.
You'll put it in the,
Yeah, I seconded that.
Yeah,
then we
and
discussed
that,
it.
and that became a very meandering discussion, so.
I'll
so,
call the question on it.
all right, so all those in favor of the motion with had something to do with the option tax,
Food and meal.
food and meal, food, rooms and meals.
Rooms and meals.
Adding that to a vote for the town meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say no.
Me. Tim.
Thank you.
The ayes have it.
That was interesting at the school meeting they had the other day on policing
Oh,
and
yes.
security. You know what Bethel pays for their police department or what
What?
they contract at? 80,000. And we're how much?
Yeah, but what coverage do they get?
Yeah,
I mean, that
they do it through the sheriff.
right, but I'm saying,
Yeah, I know.
you have to look at what they, I mean, that might be 10 hours a week.
No, I mean, they were complaining that they didn't have enough, so they were, we
Yeah,
only pay 80, and we're paying $250,000 or whatever.
no, it's double that.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on. Get through this thing. Are you here for something, Karen?
I'm just listening, I was double checking to see, what I was gonna need to,
I was just
put
looking through
together
the
for the
list and
Australian ballot.
didn't know if there's anything on here that pertained to you.
Yeah.
Um, Country Animal Hospital Agreement, simple vote or,
Yep, we contract with Country Animal Hospital to be the pound keeper, so it's 2025, they sent us the new rates.
How much different is it from the prior years?
Truthfully, I couldn't tell you the last time we actually got a bill from
Yeah.
Country Animal Hospital. Typically, if an animal is brought there, it has an owner and the owner pays any of the fees that are incurred. The only time that the town pays them is if the animal doesn't have an owner, and then we just make Country Animal Hospital whole.
and we do have a cat agreement for somebody,
Yeah, I think so.
take over any cats that were charged. But,
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second your motion, Tim.
any more discussion? All those in favor of approving the Country Animal Hospital agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, just have it. Transfer station,
Can we change the view of the,
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Yep, my bad.
that's fine. I'm just.
You don't see you, you're just a black box.
He wanted
just-
this job.
I'm just blowing my nose nonstop, so. Not pretty.
Bye, Carmen.
Thank you, Carmen.
Welcome. Joe can make it.
How are you gonna make the town a bunch of money? At the transfer station, that's what I wanna know.
By changing the scale price to $1,000 a ton.
Actually, you only need to go up a little bit.
Well, Victoria did all the research.
Yeah, Victoria sent us something, I
Yeah.
can't remember what it was.
I sent the board a financial analysis of the first 6 months of operation of the transfer station for FY 25.
Yeah.
And made a recommendation based on that analysis that we increase the minimum scale charge
Mhm.
from $20 to $30.
Professional opinion, John?
I mean, we're the cheapest around, we're attracting people from non-alliance towns. I know somewhere down the road it opened up to non-alliance towns. But yeah, people are coming with 3 contractor bags and going over the scale, paying $20. You know, so. If we raised it to 30, then it would be
There are 4 bags.
4 bags.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are bringing truckloads and it's $20. Cause it's $20 up to 220.
Yeah, but I think the way to increase
So-
your revenue is to raise the ton rate by a few dollars or, cause I don't think it's gonna do it to raise the minimum because it's not gonna solve anything. You're just gonna,
The
Well,
the 48% of the customers, 48% of the customers that go over the scale
50, let's just go.
are
Half.
paying $20, which is the minimum rate. That means that they're less than what weighs up or
you're paying
charging by the scale
nine
price.
cents a pound. So,
but that means 48% of those. Of those visits
Would not necessarily be affected by a change
Will-
in the
will-
scale fee.
no.
We'll make it- we'll make it, and we'll make it another $10.
You're gonna get another $10 in for a month, and then people are gonna wise up and they're gonna start bringing $30 worth of trash, $20.
So do both.
I think if you wanna raise more money, you gotta raise the rate to the. I mean, that's just the way I see it, but
Don't forget about the non-alliance towns should be getting charged more. Is there any headway on that?
Not really,
It's just too complicated.
I mean. Everybody pays the same, I mean, the alliance fees are really for, you know, hazardous waste days and. I mean, that's
The cost to maintain the SWIP certification, some of the.
the 2 hazardous waste days
depreciation.
alone eats up almost half of the alliance fees.
No, but I mean, our town pays a fee to be part of
Yeah, 7 towns do.
7 towns, yeah. But many towns, and so those 7 towns, people from those 7 towns should be paying less than people from other towns, right?
what are other
No,
towns paying
so-
per ton? They have scales, right?
No, I mean, Randolph had scales, I don't know if they do anymore. East Montpelier, I don't know if they do. But I mean, people, they complain because they go to Randolph and they eyeball a truckload and they give them some ridiculous number. And I mean, you know, people are coming to us because we're so cheap. You know, that place was built for the Alliance Town back in the day. And somewhere along the lines it got opened up and. But I do agree that, you know, there should be a different pricing, but to figure that out and implement it, that's,
Complicated.
yeah. Cause like in our system, you know, we have codes for everything, so.
And then you'd have to check everybody's ID that came
Right,
over the scale.
Right. 'cause-
Also, can I clarify something? So in Vermont, you are required to be part of a solid waste implementation district, right? Every town, city, village, you have to have a solid waste implementation plan. In most districts, the solid waste district is separate from the transfer station. There's no overlap. They have a separate board. It's a completely separate, so towns are absolutely paying some taxes to be part of a SWIP, regardless of what town they are.
Yeah,
Just in
sure.
Royalton, we have this weird overlap between the transfer station manager operating the SWIP. I don't know how it happened. As far as I can tell, it is a very unique situation. So your solid waste alliance fees that each of the towns pay support your household hazardous waste events that you have to have. They support some of John's time to manage all of the paperwork that goes along with all of that, and then the outreach and communication that is required to maintain the solid waste implementation plan that's required by the state. It's not, those fees do not go to the day-to-day operation of the transfer station. They are specific, they're by and large are used to maintain that separate solid waste implementation plan.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So it's a very low amount that we put in as a town to that very specific.
Right, and it goes into the transfer station budget. It's there, again, weird overlap. But that's why, like, in that analysis that you saw, you can kind of see like, okay, here's the expense of household hazardous waste, the depreciation expense on the facility, because you are required to have a transfer station, you know, as part of your SWIP, who takes your hazardous waste and that sort of stuff. But by and large, it's two different things between day-to-day business and the SWIP.
I don't forget, you can implement this change and then assess it and, you know, make another change down the line. But I also think it might encourage people because some people just, you know, say, screw it, I'm not doing any recycling. They just throw everything into a bag, go across the scale, and they know if it's cheaper, they don't have to pay three contractors' bags for $24 and recycling fees. It might actually encourage somebody to recycle. I would make a motion to adopt that increase and just see how it plays out over the course of the year. These conversations are very different than when I started on the board, where we're always throwing in money with Bethel to bring it up to even. We have a manager here who's proactive and working with Victoria. I think we should suggestion and give it a try.
But just to be clear, your motion is to adopt the $10 bump minimum?
Yeah, minimum fee to 30.
Okay. I'll second that.
Not raise the rate anymore with.
Well, we can
the
discuss it
top
more
by the
now
front.
and then amend the motion if you want.
Do you think that's a good idea, John, or do you just like that?
I mean, if I mean, I'm all good with, you know, raising it to 30 and giving it a trial, and if we have to raise the rate, we'll raise the rate.
Just a few short years ago, our garage doors didn't work. Our tipping building was closed, condemned, and we were always running a deficit. I think under the current leadership, I think they've implemented some pretty good changes with our. I'm done.
We raised the bag rates last year,
Year and a half ago?
year and a half.
I don't think we raised the bag rates. I think those have been the same since I've been there.
Was it just the recycling fees that we did?
Yeah. It was just the recycling fees.
Adding the
Charged
recycling,
by volume instead of visit.
yeah.
Yeah.
The bag rates must have gone up just before you got there then,
Right.
because it was,
Yeah, they've been the same since I've been there.
But we now are charging the recycling.
But,
They used to be free, yeah.
well, yeah, cause it's like, you know, what, $3 per visit.
Yeah.
Somebody would save up their recycling for a month, come with a truck and trailer load.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
That was great.
by that time, it's been sitting so long, it's dirty and then. It's only supposed to be clean recycling,
Yeah,
so. But luckily, none of the loads ever got rejected.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you think that's a good idea, let's do it.
It's a start.
Like Tim said, we could come back to it.
So we ran the numbers and
so it's the minimum fee to go over the scale. And if the loads are heavier. That's up,
Right,
they
so-
pay more than the $30. But you probably got a lot of people going over the scales at
48% of the visits.
$20 up to 220 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, after that, it's, 300 pounds is like 25 something.
I went over the scale 3 times today with construction debris. It would, I think it would raise my fee about $3. I mean, it's not a lot of money for a business. And the convenience is unbelievable.
I think this is more geared towards
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
48%. Take advantage of the $20 fee. So maybe they'll come inside with their 3 contractor bags and pay 24.
Right.
Cause they don't wanna pay the 30. So yeah, I guess that would be the $4 raise on there.
Mhm.
Motion's been seconded.
well, I was thinking it might be worth running the numbers to see what, if you ran $175 a ton or something like that, see how much difference it would make.
What's
That's
it now?
170.
170.
Oh,
Well, these aren't mutually exclusive.
No.
I mean, we could do this one and then we could look at that number and,
Well,
or your preference would be to do it all
I
at
would
once.
do it myself, but I had a little trouble with the spreadsheet. It was not,
Not cooperating.
It's a pivot table.
Oh, that's why, Stuart. It's not a spreadsheet.
Sorry. That's
I
the
don't
only
know
way
what
to
pivot table is.
deal with
Maybe
tens
good
of
times.
thousands of lines of data.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
But I think that's a worthwhile exercise though.
because that way you wouldn't be hitting somebody very hard, but it would be like getting a little bit more out of everybody.
I think,
Can we do both, raise the minimum and then raise it to 175? ton?
But I'd like to know
yeah,
what it does first
Yeah.
before.
I think this is worthwhile to do regardless, and I would be happy to consider. The tonnage rate too, if we saw the numbers. Cause I'm guilty of this, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I get 20 all the time.
Yeah, I've done it, and
Yeah.
I would still do, if it was 30, I would still do, I would stuff one more bag in the back of that car. And then happily pay the 30.
There was another mention about, streamlining things, saying that the people with 3 bags are slowing down the scales, and I was wondering, is there any way you could do a express lane like having one of those bins that you know it's gonna fill up, but you just keep dumping it.
Yeah, I mean, typically, when there's a long line, I'll have Derek go up with the loader and he'll pick out cars that have just a few bags and he'll wave them over and they'll put them in the bucket of the loader
I've never seen that.
and then send them on their way. But
I've never been on a Saturday.
it's pretty busy.
It's your,
Yeah, I mean,
You're
you
doing
could, you could, few bags, put it in the 30-yard dumpster.
you're doing a better job than a lot of people have been.
So, I mean, you come in the middle of the day on a Saturday and expect to wait in line.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go on a Saturday. I know that.
Or come early and or
Yeah,
later.
yeah. Gotta go at 7 AM.
Did we have a motion
We do, and it was seconded
for,
for increasing the minimum to $30.
I don't mind if it's voted down and then explore the other.
We can do the other later.
Can we vote on it? Is that?
Start on the 30 right now and.
Yeah,
okay, let's call a vote. All those in favor? of Raising the minimum to 30?
I know.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
No opposed?
Hold on. Give me 2 seconds, I can get you a number on a $5 increase.
okay. Sure, did I see you busily, reviewing these out there?
I was doing these.
That's payroll.
I didn't
Oh,
make it
okay.
through.
This is huge this time.
Cause we missed, missed
Too many weeks.
yeah.
So over the 6-month period, a $5 increase in the ton rate. Assuming it's 2% of your gross revenue. If you back out everybody who only paid $20 to go over, you're looking at increasing your revenue generation over 6 months by $8,000.
That's the number you're looking at. Isn't it?
Increasing your minimum scale fee by $10 based on your customer count. Without adjusting for people who might change their habits is roughly $5,000 a month.
That was $8,000 a month?
This is $8,000 over 6 months.
Oh, as opposed to 5,000 a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that isn't,
So I say, yeah.
Well, good,
So I
we
think this is-
did the right vote then.
I think we did the right thing.
Right.
We'll see how this goes through 6 months and then review.
all right,
John, the lights look nice. In the green.
They look
Yeah,
awesome.
thank
They
you,
look
John.
awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't really finish pulling the trees because I ended up by myself, but.
Yeah.
oh, thanks for reminding me, there was a, report of a RV plugged into the outlets on the green.
Yeah, for quite a number of days.
Yeah, Paul had ended up going shutting that breaker off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be off all the time unless,
Well, the lights were plugged in,
yeah, they weren't in that outlet, were they?
or were they, I guess there's two outlets
It's
right
that
there.
same circuit breaker, I think, that
Well-
powers everything, isn't it?
There's like 6 circuit breakers and nobody knows where they all go, but, they turn them all off. And
Well, cause there's a breaker on the new bandstand that feeds the old bandstand.
yeah, and then there's another breaker on the, down by the floor on the old, on the new bandstand. And there's the box in the back.
So what you're saying is that we need to know what the breakers are and add a lock to the breaker box.
Well, we should only turn on the ones we need. And not leave them on all the time. Is,
Cause RVs will plug in, no.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, lights are all unplugged, so you can shut them all off, they're not.
no, it wasn't about the lights, it's about the people stealing electricity.
Okay, and that's why Paul shut the breaker off, so there's and ended up shutting a couple trees off.
Breaker that went to the RV that was parked there a couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Somerville.
How long till you want to implement this change? month, 2 months.
When do you
Why do,
want
why
it?
Do it right away.
would, yeah,
Well, I mean,
I would say as soon as it works for you.
I think people are happier when they know
Yes.
about
Ah,
it. So,
that's a great point.
I mean, even though I put the hours.
Yeah, I
change
know,
notice,
yeah, I saw that and I saw you on social
no-
media.
Nobody
still
reads
having to-
signs,
yeah.
but still, I
Yeah.
try.
I think.
Last big change we made, we literally gave it, we said, January, the next year, because it was gonna be it was a relatively big change, so I think given a little time is a good idea.
I don't think you need to do any more than a couple months, though.
Right
No,
before
no.
town, great.
Yes, right, first of March.
Love that. March 1st.
Yeah,
March 2nd.
yeah, let's say March 4th.
I'd say a month, I mean,
We're closed for town meeting day, but the day after.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You got any equipment issues, anything that's gonna break?
I mean, the loader is going downhill. It's got some wiring issues. We just got the gear control replaced because it just kept stopping randomly. Yeah, loader. And I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have a little bigger one, but the loader should go before the excavator.
Do you have, do you have any kind of fund for that, or?
I don't think so, not yet.
A reserve fund for there.
Add it to the list.
What, like 5 years, 10 years, you think, John?
Oh, not 10 years. I don't know if it'll last 5.
I'm not gonna make it through this one.
It's going downhill.
How old's that one?
17, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think both of them are 2017.
Oh,
Not
2017.
yeah.
Such, I thought you were saying it was 17 years. Here we go. with the great-
No,
Yeah.
because they just finished paying for the excavator, didn't they? Not that long ago.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Can put a big sale.
We can limp it along for 2 more years.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely. last a couple more years.
Okay,
It's just-
Perfection.
yeah,
But
perfect.
it definitely has a wiring issue and it's. Well. I just had them up here changing belts and going all through it and, you know. We do get a yearly maintenance on both machines.
Cool.
It'll go till it doesn't.
Well, we can catch it the week before it doesn't. That would be great.
Yep.
Thanks, John.
Have a good night.
Approval of minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting. I don't know the date. Okay.
Assuming they're off.
The minutes are up. Yep.
Yeah,
Yes, I went to look for them, they weren't.
I'll second that.
I knew it was holidays. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approval of warrants, still working on it. Any other business?
Do we need to authorize you to complete the review of the warrants and so that Rita can make the payments?
I'm gonna stay here till they're done.
Okay.
Gonna do it that way, that's fine.
Do we need a motion to approve the warrants after you've reviewed them?
Sure.
Okay,
Is that a motion, John?
Yes.
Need a
I'll second. Yeah.
All those in favor of approving warrants after they're reviewed?
Aye.
Is that the same with the driveway permit, by the way? Or,
Yes.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, I just wanted to be sure.
yeah.
Other business, tomorrow I'm meeting, I've tried a few different solutions on that, at least a couple different solutions on that Sherlock Road culvert. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, Victoria, you might have looked into replacing it at some point with a box culvert, but in between, there's only 15 feet of clear navigable road, and we thought about putting Jersey barriers. That was a recommendation. It would just neck it down too narrow. So I'm meeting this guy from Lafayette tomorrow. He's gonna text me 30 minutes before he outside of Royalton, and I'll meet him there. I'll meet him there tomorrow. Victoria kindly gave me the coordinates. So I'll let you know how that goes. But he seemed to think there was a way of the current guardrails are completely smashed and like
Yeah.
over the sides. So he didn't. I don't know. We'll see how tomorrow goes. But he seemed to have a solution. He was talking another language. I have no idea what he's talking about. So I'll learn something tomorrow. And then I'll go look at that driveway.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, Tim.
That's it. Do you have an executive session just to bring the board up to date on something and it deals with a personnel issue when you're ready.
Okay. Before we get into that, here in the warrants, there's a CDL for Michael. This for $2,800 for training.
Well, that's part of the executive session.
Oh, it is. Okay. All right. Went and spoiled it. I guess we're ready for no hearing no other
We
business.
could wait, just to circle back for a second.
Circle back.
So the enhanced select board report for the town meeting.
Yeah.
Do we wanna,
Yeah, because that has to be ready for print before before our next meeting.
yeah, do we
Is that
wanna,
right?
yeah, do we want to collab on that? Do we want to,
You
I
did a
mean,
draft one.
I did.
right, and we can still use that piece, but I think we need more, is what
I
I'm
did a
saying.
review of what we've done, and this is
Yeah,
what's coming
so
out.
I mean, I'd be happy to work on that.
I think that's great. Budget, flood hazard bylaw, and option tax.
Yeah,
Are the three topics.
if I had one more person to bounce it off of, that would be helpful.
While we're having that discussion, does the board have time on their schedule next week for like a 5-minute? Give a vote of approval for the final town meeting warning, but that doesn't have to wait till the 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, we can just do a Zoom meeting, right?
Yeah, the board could meet by Zoom as long as someone's physically here, which does not have to be the board.
Okay.
Why can't we just do it now? I don't understand.
Because we have to add, I mean. I suppose if you guys are going into executive session, I could go sit down and draft those 2 articles, maybe.
Oh, you mean we have to
Because-
read those 2 things that you're right, okay, right.
Yeah, because you've got those 2 changes.
I think it's better to get it,
Yeah,
you know.
no,
this
that's
is the
fine.
final
Take your
version.
time, yeah.
Yeah, because if it's just really 5 minutes, we can.
Yeah.
You wanna do it on Tuesday?
They're my favorite.
Tuesdays
Yes.
here? Okay. Well, you're very emphatic about that, Tim.
Yeah.
Tuesday at 6:30?
Doesn't have to be 6:30. Whatever works.
I think Tuesday is wide open for me. Think.
Anyone got any time constraints on Tuesday?
Probably.
Any you want to
Say
share with
6:30
the,
safe.
any you want to share with the class now,
All right,
or
let's go at 6:30.
6:30? All right.
You only need a quorum. You really can't meet anytime between 8
Oh,
and 2.
Oh,
then I'll-
yes.
And then I'll already be here.
yeah.
And you guys. can
I
sit.
love that point.
Sorry.
Just speak up if you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have basketball games. I knew there was
Absolutely.
something I can't.
Yeah, I can do during the day.
Love
I-
during.
No,
I can't during the day, but that's fine.
Oh, come on.
We
don't
only
him
need
for a
one
quorum.
more.
I'll do it.
Okay. Pick a time.
Tuesday
pick a
morning
time.
at 9.
Tuesday morning.
Oh,
No, it's sure as I can do it at, afternoon.
Yeah.
2,
Afternoon,
I'd rather do
Two?
afternoon than
2?
morning.
2, sure.
Tuesday
2
2.
o'clock.
You got it.
2. I'll put it in my calendar.
Did somebody?
Special.
You gonna send us, well, you're gonna send us an email.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll publish an agenda, so you'll have all the things.
Perfecto. Mundo perfecto. All right, so. Okay,
I make a motion, I make a motion to go to executive session with the select board for a personnel issue.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, say. Aye.
Aye.
I'm,
I haven't heard.
Oops, that was close.
So we got a question from you when you had a second.
Yep.
Is there any kind of training budget for the highway department?
No,
It's almost as if she anticipated that question.
Have you got a,
If we prepay this, is there any way of getting him to pay a portion of it back over time?
legally,
unlikely.
unlikely?
Unlikely, but we can still ask it.
You certainly can ask it. I believe the last time that we paid for an employee's CDL, we asked them to remain in the town service for a year.
You can't.
did they?
Yes. That person is still currently employed.
Okay,
We can ask them, but no way of enforcing it.
Right. It's very difficult to try to recoup those funds.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's typically difficult.
and Debbie thinks he's a good guy that would want to stay with us.
We already, yeah.
Yeah,
or even you can't, there's nothing you can,
You can't force someone to
there's
stay.
no leverage,
No,
so.
Again, this is something that we should, this is a done deal, I feel like. This, we should just sign and vote and be done with it. But then going forward, we should talk about this very specific thing in the, for the future, for the future.
It would be helpful to have a policy.
A plan,
Yeah.
a policy, that's the
Policy.
word.
So this is a pretty recent, well, this specific instance is the result of the fairly recent change to Vermont requirements on what is necessary to get your CDL.
okay.
So it's a pretty recent change that you have to go through this course and have so many hours of driving and more particulars versus having your permit and then having, going to test and having somebody sign off that, yes, they've driven so many hours.
I think
Well,
so,
it's in the warrant, so we're paying it,
we're paying it. Well,
right,
and you're reviewing and approving the warrants, so.
And we
Still-
can,
I
and we
still
can
think we
express
could-
the expectation,
We could still let him know that we're paying it and we expect him to remain in the town's employ for at least a year after the completion of this.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
yeah,
We
so
can't, we
That's
can't
a
ask for
motion.
it back, but
I'll second your motion. Thank you, John. That's very kind of you.
all those in favor?
And, we need a motion, but you can tell me. Just, we think it would be fine if Jacob wanted to come to a public meeting, like anybody, to speak to us. But, there'll be no private sessions.
Okay. I don't think you need a motion for that.
yeah, no, just exactly what that lawyer emailed
Yeah,
you back.
I move to adjourn.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh. Well done.
Good job.